At Fonts Event 360 on the 30th of September in the Netherlands, we will talk about mega trends that impact the global economy. And one of those mega trends is, we think, robotization, the rapid growth of robots in the workspace. For example, in 2011 in the US, 40% more robots were sold for manufacturing.
Right.
And that's what we're going to talk about. The thing is, how big is the impact for the robot on the global economy? That's what we're going to talk about with Hendrik Christensen. He's at Georgia Tech. He's KUKA Chair of Robotics and a well-known robo expert in the world. Hendrik, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, so being a robo expert, are you just fond of those science fiction movies like Terminator and RoboCop, or just absolutely not?
Absolutely not.
Man,
So, so no, for the very good reason that they're painting a picture that is typically very negative. So if you look at it, if you look at Terminator, they're the humans are coming to save us from the robots, and iRobot, the robots goes amok, and the humans have to intervene. And so it's a very negative view that Hollywood paints. Whereas if you go to Japan, in Japan they have a very different view. So there they have a comic strip every day that shows a robot that helps people. So
all
it's a
right.
very positive view, and Hollywood has this very fashion view of disaster that is a little bit unfortunate.
All right. There's one thing. When I was young, I don't know if you remember her, but
Oh
this
yeah,
was my hero.
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Mine too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So this is Rosie from the Jetsons. It was, I think, in the 80s, a big TV hit.
it
and
was.
and she was helping the Jetsons figure out household. The thing is, we haven't seen Rosie yet. And when I was young, like a year or eight, I thought, well, when I'm 40, we'll have a Rosie.
Absolutely. So no, and I'm still saying, I would like to, by the time I retire, to have a robot that would allow me to get out of bed, get dressed, prepare a meal, a number of these things that I go to the restroom. I would like to do these things without having to rely on other people. I would love to interact with people, but there's certain things I would like to do on my own. So that's still the dream that we're trying to provide, that we can help people with everyday situations.
And is that gonna come in, let's say, 10, 20 years or not?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt. And I think the baby boomers is going to drive this forward. If you look at it, we're going to see almost a 50% increase in the number of retired people. At the same time, the baby boomers are the people that own most of the money on the stock exchange. So they, if you go to them and say, we can't provide you with healthcare services, they're going to ask the question, where can I buy it? So they will very much drive the R&D to make sure that they get assistance in their homes as we lose our mobility, as we get poor eyesight. So I'm saying, as an example, kids born today will never have to learn to drive a car. 15 years from us, 18 years from now, we will have fully autonomous cars. You don't have to drive a car anymore.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So what's then the regional or maybe the global impact of this trend of automatization and robotization?
You're seeing two trends, and it's very much being driven forward by the fact that over the last 15 years, we've had about a 50% salary increase in Europe and in the US, but we've had a 500% salary increase in China. Right now, Flextronics, Lenovo, Apple, all of these companies are reshoring their manufacturing to the US using robotics technology. We're seeing a shift of jobs. We're not seeing an elimination of jobs, but we're seeing a shift of jobs. So before, so before we would typically talk about that we had people that did dirty, dull, and dangerous. Those jobs will go away, and instead we will have people that do the robot programming, that do the maintenance, that do sort of high level. So because the jobs will go away from being unskilled labor to being skilled labor, it's very important for us all the time to think about our educational system. How do we make sure that we have people that are very well educated in comparison to people before, where you had so in particular in the US, we have a lot of unskilled labor that are doing things. So and recently I was at an automotive factory where you had people that were unskilled that was just lifting stuff sort of from one place to another, but some of them might be lifting up to 2,000 pounds an hour. That's 1,000 kilograms, and you can imagine they look like, you know, Weight Watchers, sort of, you know, really sort of strong people. But it ruins their shoulders, their elbows, and their back. So after 5 to 8 years in the workplace, you become handicapped, and it's very hard. So those jobs that are sort of dangerous for people to do will get displaced. But it is important to recognize that it will go from being unskilled labor where you can sort of get out of high school and immediately get a job. It's not a well-paying job, but it's a job. Those jobs will go away. So we need to make sure we educate people to do these new things.
Yeah, because I read a book, maybe you've read it, Race Against the Machine, and that's about this issue as well.
Exactly.
And it states, I do it at the top of my head, but they said, well, there's going to be an enormous divide in productivity. The people that can use a robot or can use automation, and the people that don't. And the people that don't are not that they're not that productive, while the people that have the skills are very productive. So there's a social problem, maybe.
At the same time, we're trying to make robots that are much simpler to use. So to give you an example, the average 20-year-old male will have spent 10,000 hours playing computer games.
That's true.
So if I can now design a robot that I can operate the same way I would do a computer game, the young people become instant experts.
Yes.
So right now we're saying, oh, you're wasting your time playing a game. I'm saying, no, you're training for the workplace.
Very good. Well, so the kids will like that.
Exactly. No, so I think we need to my argument is that most of the systems that are designed today are designed by 50-year-old people that have never played computer games. And they don't think about what is the demographics of people entering the workforce. The demographics is such that they're gaming experts. If I design the icons and I use, you know, the thumb things, then they're instant experts. So I think we will see a evolution in technology that would allow us to use this to empower these people. So you don't need to have a lot of training. That's what's happening today, and I really see us moving very rapidly to this sort of game environment.
If you look at regional challenges, if you look at the impact of robotization on regional economies, who's going to profit and who's going to lose from this trend?
I think Europe and the US will benefit tremendously, because using this technology will allow us to bring back a lot of the things that's been outsourced. So the fact that Motorola, which is Google owned, today makes all of their cell phones in the US. 5 years ago, that would have been unthinkable. In Georgia, 20 years ago, the textile industry moved initially to Eastern Europe, and then it moved to China. And that implied that T-shirts and stuff like that you buy today are made in China. But also now all of the textile, the weavers and all of that are in China. Now we have the technology where I could bring back sewing of T-shirts. But the entire supply chain of cloths and all of that is in China, so it's not coming back. So we need to secure that Tier 1 and Tier 2 companies remain in Europe and remain in the US. And if they do, we can compete long term.
All right.
So we need to sort of think very carefully about how do we ensure long-term economic growth. So what I mean is that if you are BMW or if you are, you know, you want to make sure that the people that supplied the seats, all of the electronics, so you know, they get all the electronics from Bosch, which is still in Europe. So if Bosch moved to China, or if the people that provided the seats moved out, it would be very difficult to sustain it, because the cost of transporting stuff back and forth is too expensive. So it's not only making sure that, and you know, you have the advantage in the Netherlands, that I see one of the big growth sectors is going to be healthcare, and it's going to be the food industry. And in the food industry, you have the advantage. You have the cows and all of that right there. You know, it's not like we're going to outsource those to China. No. So I think you have a fairly stable basis from which you can build this. At the same time, you have big companies like Philips that will help make sure that for something like healthcare, you have a very strong basis.